Good morning. Grab your coffee, grab your tea, grab whatever it is that you drink. I don't care. It is your choice. And we are just having a little chat about something that has been bugging me. And it has nothing to do with the other thing. We're moving on. What has been bugging me is that when I was a teenager and I had gotten Dancing with Dragons, and even later on when Conway released her second book, Mystical Dragon Magick, I had no idea who Fáfnir was. I know what she told us, but I had no idea of his origin. And I'll have to give a little bit of background. I'm trying to figure out where I want this one to start. Okay, so despite... Again, I had to get weirdly specific. This is probably where my weirdly specific thing came from. My mom's side, my great-grandparents over on that side, came straight out of Norway and Denmark in the 1930s. They immigrated here in 1930. I did not know this until... Sorry. I want to say that was 2019 that I started really researching, because I wanted to know where it came from. I have a family wound to where I've been pretty much disowned by my biological family, not really on my father's side, because I'm not gonna get into that, because it's not just my story, it's my mother's too, and I'm not gonna do her like that. But, on my mother's side, I was disowned from the point that I was born, and I didn't even do anything, I was just born. So, I knew, nothing about them. But I've always had hints throughout my life connecting to the Norse. Like, my mother's name is Scandinavian in origin. So, the spelling confuses people. But, my grandmother's maiden name, which I will not say for privacy reasons. Not only that, but my Portuguese stepdad, when I was about 10. This is the one who took his own life when I was 13, okay? When I was about 10, he was into tattoos too. He's kind of why I'm into them, but he got a Viking ship on his back, across his upper back. And then later on, he ended up getting a shield maiden. And I distinctly remember this. And at the time, I'm just like, that's random. And now looking back, it's just like, was it random? Or was it a hint? Because, again, back then, I had no idea who Vikings were. It looked familiar, but, as a kid, I was mostly into, Egyptian and stuff like that. Egyptian really intrigued me. It doesn't, it still intrigues me, but not as much. And I'm super dark, and but whatever. So I didn't, I have family connections to Scandinavian land. Scandinavia, whatever. I don't know. Don't come at me. I'm still learning this stuff myself, because I the youngest has risen. I pretty much ignored the hints up until, well, pretty much when I figured out where my family is from. And then I started to kind of get into it, but the thing about me is I don't like being on bandwagons. That's what I call them. I don't like being part of a fad. I don't like to follow the crowd because it bothers me, because it's like, especially since I know I shouldn't care what other people think, but it's like, you know, you're just doing this because other people are doing it too. That is not the case. That has never been the case. I don't like being part of the crowd. I like to wander off and venture off and do my own thing. Like, yes, I enjoy the show Vikings. That is not where the inspiration comes from, because I only discovered Vikings last year. And I've been kind of dipping my toe into the Norse. Since around 2019 and 2020. Of course, I've had a longtime friend kind of yell at me because I was looking into my ancestry, and I pretty much had to put him into his place, because it's like, why does it bother you? It's like, why does it bother you that I'm looking into my own ancestry? It's like, worry about you and let me have fun, you know, trying to figure out who the fuck I am and where I come from, where my family comes from, especially those who pretty much abandoned me and disowned me since birth. So, anyway, that was a bit of background. I obviously never knew my great-grandparents. Would have been nice, especially since I have my great-grandfather is a very difficult man to find information on. It's like I have his name, and that's pretty much where it stops. But, you know, my great-grandmother, it just never-ending ocean of information, which I deeply enjoy. But anyway, I told you all that in order to tell you this. Fáfnir originated in the Germanic and Norse mythologies. I'm not sure where this information about he was Celtic in origin came from, but he has no connections to the Celtic mythologies. Maybe it was in one of Conway's books, but it's not. No. Fáfnir was originally a dwarf, and the son of the dwarf king. He was consumed by greed to the point that he slayed his own father, and then eventually turned into a dragon out of greed to protect the horde. Pretty much, there have been characters, especially in Lord of the Rings, you have Smaug and Gollum, who have pretty much been inspired by Fáfnir, the story of Fáfnir. And he was slayed by Sigurd, or, Sigurd in Germanic. Sigurd is in Nordic. Now, my beef with this was that out of all the dragons, especially since he was named an elemental fire dragon, he was the one I connected with the most. When I called on these dragons, when I was first starting out, and I knew nothing about Fáfnir, or any of them. He was the one who stood out the most. He was the one I could feel the most. And I thought that was because, you know, I'm a fire sign. I'm a Sagittarius by the hair on my ass. And he was a fire dragon. So I thought that may have been why, you know, he and I connected. But it could have been deeper than that. And the fact that he had already existed prior to this book. Or prior to these books. And whatever that they claim. Imagine how dangerous that could have been. Because this is part of the reason for why I don't share dragon names. Because you take this dragon out of his environment. We'll say that. He still has the same name. You change the story, right? And then you put him as a fire dragon and go, oh, hey, call on him for fire stuff. Call on him for your watchtower, for, you know, fire. For your draconian dragon magic rituals. And you had no idea who you're actually calling. My analogy is kind of like when my ex-husband was cheating on me and I had no idea who had what, and he was jeopardizing my health out of his greed. So Conway pretty much jeopardized my safety by introducing this dragon who, in his story, is rather negative. He has negative aspects. Obsession, greed, isolation. Because he isolates himself in order to protect his hoard. Right? He slayed his own father. And then was slayed himself. And so that's kind of where my beef is with this. And I find that that is very irresponsible and disrespectful. You're going to publish this book with a twisted tale for Fáfnir. So then people can call on a dragon. They have no idea who actually is. That pisses me off. People's safety should be number one. If you wanted to create a fire watchtower dragon, name him something else. Find someone else. Or tell the truth. He was obsessed with greed. He isolated himself to protect the hoard. Now, thankfully, because of my mindset, I am able to look at beings, especially after my personal history, and go, what can they teach us? And what Fáfnir can teach us is to look at our own lives. Look at what we're hoarding. Look at what we're obsessed with, trying to control. Most of the time, it's our emotions, resentment, things like that, alright? Or even physical clutter. You know, he has his hoard, so we have physical clutter, which I do. But I need to clean. And we can use him as a way to reflect, right? Reflect on ourselves and pretty much use him as shadow work. And then go ahead and either work on healing the aspect that we find, or cleaning and decluttering things that we find. So then we are not eventually slaying ourselves due to our own obsession. And that's pretty much my thing on Fáfnir. My irritation on how we were introduced, his actual story, and what we can learn from him. So, I just want you to kind of, if you feel up to it, sit here and kind of reflect on if you were introduced to Fáfnir this way. How do you feel about that? And do you now understand why I personally do not share dragon names? You may not agree with it, and that's perfectly fine. But this is part of the reason for why I don't share dragon names. Of course, if we didn't share, like, Fáfnir's name, we wouldn't be able to call on him for aspects that we need. So, that's pretty much it. That is pretty much the only dragon that I don't have beef with him. I have beef with Conway. Yeah. I'm grateful that my interactions with him were any worse than what they were. And they weren't even bad. It just, I had no idea at the time. And it could have been bad. Could have turned on me. Could have backfired. I had no idea. And that is the risk that we take when we take someone's word as gospel, instead of questioning the validity of things and doing our own research. My mother told me from the very beginning, from the time that I told her in that car when I was 12, that I wanted to be a witch. She told me to do your homework. And I was stupid, and I trusted Conway because she was an author. Don't do that. Learn from my mistake. Don't do that. Always ask questions. Always research more. Make sure you understand what you're summoning into your space. So, anyway. Thank you for watching. And have a nice day.